Hey YouTube, Parson Rick here. Been quite a week. I told you that Miss Chris rode right into Montana to see our daughter. She came back Friday. I took the day off and went over to meet her in a little faux western town called Sisters, which has a hidden humidor at a kitschy little whirligig shop, you know, a little tourist place. In the back they have like a walk-in closet humidor and have a fairly good selection. I went there to find these cigars called a Banker. I believe it's H. Upmann, but our local shop doesn't carry them. That's the only place I've been that has them. Well, they were out, so I picked up some others. This is a Romeo and Julieta Reserve, and I did buy a couple of H. Upmann cigars. I do like H. Upmann's cigar. Really, to me, very tasty. So I got some. While I was waiting for her, when I got there, she was still about an hour away. Just started smoking it, she pulled up. But it was a really good ride. I rode over, it's about a 200-mile round trip. I rode over the old McKenzie Pass, Highway 242 in Oregon. It's a high, old, historical road, and it just opened last weekend, and it goes through the lava fields and stuff. It used to be the only way across the Cascades from here, but now it's not. They got the big new bypass and all that. But it was really nice. There wasn't too many people on it yet. It's real switchbacky, you know. It's not a shortcut by any means. But at the end of this video, I'll post 2 videos of some of the country up there. It's just beautiful. And I have that pass. The lady, I stopped at a little coffee shop down on the bottom side just before you head up there, and I asked the lady if she knew the condition of the roads, and she asked, well, if I was familiar. I said, well, yeah, I've driven over it a dozen times, and I've bicycled over it, and I've cross-country skied over it, and I've snowshoed over it, and I've camped up on top in the snow, you know, in 8-10 feet of snow, so fairly familiar with the area. Very nice up there, very beautiful. So I do have a couple of clips. If you want to watch them, they'll be at the end. Yesterday, the club had its big poker run, and we went down. If you remember, if you watched the riding videos I put up last week, that was some of the route, and we had a real good time. Everybody stayed safe, and you just never know what's going to happen. We had ridden the route just last weekend, making sure it was all good shape and everything. And right before the end, the railroad had come through and torn up one of the crossings. It was all the big, you know, the railroad grade gravel, the big boulder stuff. And that was kind of fun riding the bikes across, let me tell you. But what are you going to do? Maybe they did it Friday. I think it was Thursday they did it. And we're through there on Saturday. We had no clue. But it was okay. It's an interesting event, you know. All sorts of groups have all sorts of rides. And for all sorts of reasons, and a lot of them are charities, and we do ours to make our money to promote our charitable stuff. And I don't know what kind of a reputation our club has, but we only draw the very serious riders. And this is actually a very easy, gentle ride. I mean, the last one I put on last year was like 130 miles, and it took us to parts unknown and back. And this was a relatively easy one, only like 67 miles. Of course, we did end up, 30 miles from town, so you had that coming back. So you got 100 miles in, and but sometimes we just don't appeal to new riders and stuff like. I think everybody thinks we're hardcore, one percenters or something, and we're not. But anyway, but of course there were one percenters on the ride because we were friendly to folks. Yeah, we get along with everybody. So anyway, we had a great time. Good barbecue. Everybody that's been on our rides know that food is paramount. That when you go, you're going to get fed for free. Well, it's covered in your entry, but you don't have to pay the entry, and you'll still get fed. And you'll get fed well. This year there was more than enough. Had some pulled pork and some other barbecue. I didn't eat any. I had a little potato salad, but I generally don't eat on the big rides and stuff. And I think it's the way I was raised. We were pretty poor when I was growing up, and it didn't matter if you went to a potluck or something like that, and you were eager to get at the food. My dad, he'd grab you. If you were his kid, he'd grab you and hold you back, and he always said, "We go last." And it didn't matter. Somebody else was needing that more than you were needing it, and we'd take what was left. And when we had the church, it took me years to teach. Some of these guys wanted to be leaders, and they'd be first one at the buffet. And then they come up and go, "Hey, Rick, how come you're not? Come up here and get something to eat." No. That's what, here, church people rant 101. The word minister means slave. Slaves don't go first. They go last. They take the scraps and they do the work, and when everybody else is comfortable and satisfied, then maybe you can grab a bite. There's, of course, people want to respect you and honor you by giving you, preference. But that job isn't a job to receive preference. And the guys that do it, the Bible, Bible Talk 101, the Bible talks about people that seek position and seek the acclaim and seek that. And really, to be a minister is like the second worst job in the world. First worst job is working at a Harley dealership because you can never ride. You're always there. But anyway, blah, 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 blah. So it was usually me in the past putting on the events, so I never lined up for the food. My wife will bring me stuff once in a while, because then she serves me and she gets the blessing, right? Anyway, ramble, I guess. So, it's been a good week. Rode a lot. I got a new seat, and it's lowered to the ground, and I can see better, ride better, and everything. But boy, it pushes on something on my backside, and after about 15, 20 minutes, I am on fire. And if I stop and get off, I get super dizzy, like it's cutting off my blood. And a buddy of mine who's a EMT, He said, yeah, it's probably cutting your blood supply to your legs off and then flushing, you know, and you get that dizziness. And I've done that. I was in a motorcycle wreck years ago, and unbeknownst to me, I broke my nose, and I was wearing these big, heavy, athletic glasses like we used to wear in the 80s, and I was in the hospital, and man, I just had this pressure building up in my sinuses, and I was sitting up, and I pulled those glasses off, and blood went shoom, and I went bang right back, and it's kind of that feeling, just almost. Well, if you want to hang around and watch the other 2 videos, they're short and they have some beautiful scenery, but glad you made it through your weekend. God bless. Parson Rick out. Hey YouTube, Parson Rick here. I'm up on Oregon Highway 242, the old McKenzie Pass. They just opened this road last weekend. These are, as you can see from the sign, those are the 3 sisters up here. Yes, I've climbed those back when I was a Hale man. I'm sitting at about 5,000 feet elevation up in the lava fields. Still not too many people up here yet. It's a Friday. Real twisty, turny road with lots of hairpins, slow going, but the road's in good shape. Like I said, they just opened it last week, and on my way to meet Miss Chris. She's coming back from Montana, and probably meet her in Sisters or someplace. So, talk to you in a little bit. So I'm back. This is only about another mile up the road. 3 Sisters again, middle of the lava field. This is a place called DeWright Observatory. They made a little castle out there many years ago out of lava, and it looks out. You can see it clear up to Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, all those places. I've hiked all through here. The Pacific Crest Trail runs right along there. That's Mount, in the distance there, that's Mount Jefferson. And I've hiked all that back when I was a young man. And I've stayed up here. I've cross-country skied up here in the middle of the winter.